Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. You know how you guys are always asking about the link between music and personality?
Mm.
Well, we heard you, and we dove into a ton of sources for this one. Scientific articles, blog posts, even some fun personality quizzes.
Sounds like a good mix.
It really is. And you know what? We found some pretty cool stuff.
I bet. Like what kinds of things?
Well, for starters, think about this. Do introverts and extroverts really have different tastes in music?
I can see that.
Right. And does your go-to genre actually say something about you? Like if you're a metalhead, are you automatically different from someone who loves pop?
Interesting.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole nature versus nurture thing. Does this vary across cultures? Or are there some universal patterns when it comes to music and who we are?
Lots of good questions there.
There are. And don't worry, we're going to unpack all of it. Plus, we'll look at how music affects our mood, why some tunes just hit us right in the feels,
Yeah. Yeah.
and even peek into the brain to see what's happening when we get our groove on.
Ooh, the neuroscience of music. I like
Oh.
it.
Okay, so let's get this party started. First up, we got to lay down some groundwork.
Makes sense.
Right, because a lot of these sources talk about personality in a specific way.
You mean like using a framework?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the big five personality traits?
Oh, yeah. Openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. It's like a classic way to describe the core dimensions of someone's personality.
Bingo. And guess what? Researchers have found links between these traits, and you guessed it, the music people love.
So our playlists aren't just random collections.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
There might be a method to the madness,
That's wild.
right? So back in 2003, some researchers came up with this cool way to categorize music. It's called STOMP, the short test of music preferences. And it basically divides music into four main categories.
Okay, I'm listening.
So you've got reflective and complex, think classical jazz.
Gotcha.
Then there's intense and rebellious rock, alternative, that kind of stuff.
Makes sense.
Then there's upbeat and conventional pop, country, religious music.
Okay.
And last but not least, energetic and rhythmic. So that's your rap, electronic, soul, funk kind of vibe.
Cool. I like how those categories cover a lot of ground.
Me too. And here's where it gets really interesting. This 2012 study in the Journal of Individual Differences found that people who score high in openness,
Yeah.
curious, imaginative types,
Yeah.
they tend to enjoy both reflective and complex music,
Yeah.
and intense and rebellious music.
Whoa, really? Both of them?
Both. They seem like total opposites, right?
You'd think so.
But the researchers think it's because both of those categories are kind of unconventional. They push boundaries in different ways.
Huh. That's actually pretty insightful.
Right, so it's not just about the genre itself, it's more about the feeling the music evokes.
The underlying vibe.
Exactly. What about the other traits? Any interesting links there?
Definitely. This same study found that people high in extroversion, so your outgoing social butterflies,
Yeah.
they were more into upbeat and conventional music, indie, energetic, and rhythmic music.
Okay, so again, two seemingly different styles. So what connects them?
Well, both are high energy and have that social vibe.
Makes sense. It's music that gets people moving and connecting, which totally fits the extroverted personality.
Right. It's music for parties and gatherings.
Totally. Now think about your own taste for a sec. Do you feel like your personality matches up with the music you enjoy?
That's a good question. I think there's definitely some overlap.
Right. It's fun to think about.
Okay.
And remember, these are just correlations, not hard and fast rules.
Yeah.
Every person is unique.
Of course, of course.
Okay, now let's get even more specific and talk about particular genres.
Okay, even more granular.
One of our sources is 16 Personalities.
Yeah.
Compania.
Yeah.
And they actually connect Myers-Briggs personality types to musical preferences.
Oh, cool. I love the Myers-Briggs. It's all about how people see the world and make decisions. It adds a whole other layer to this discussion.
Right. So, for example, they found that commanders, the ENTJ personality type,
Yeah.
they have a 64% preference for jazz.
Wow, that's pretty specific.
It is. And get this, protagonists, the ENFJ type, they also have a 64% preference for jazz.
No.
Yeah, but they tend to lean towards big band jazz.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So even within one genre, there are nuances.
Exactly. It's not as simple as saying you like jazz, so you must be like this.
Right. People are more complex than that.
Way more. This source also pointed out a huge difference between metal fans and pop fans.
Oh, tell me.
So metalheads, they tend to be more introverted, intuitive, and thinking,
Okay.
while pop fans are more extroverted, observant, and feeling.
So like almost opposite preferences across several traits.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how much truth there is to those musical stereotypes.
Yeah, like the idea that metalheads are all dark and brooding and pop fans are all bubbly and happy.
Totally. Stereotypes are rarely completely accurate, but These patterns are definitely interesting to think about.
They are. Do they challenge any of your own assumptions about what certain musical tastes say about a person?
For sure. Now, speaking of assumptions, let's talk about introverts and extroverts and how this whole music preference thing plays out in their lives. We found this blog post from Kingdom of Introversion, and it gets really real about the social pressures around music.
I can imagine.
The author talks about how introverts dread the question, what music do you listen to?
Oh, I can see why.
Because they feel like their answer never fits the expected social barcode.
Right, like they're being judged.
Totally. And they suggest it's because introverts might use music for deeper personal exploration,
Yeah.
not just for social bonding.
Interesting.
And they might value complexity and nuance, which mainstream music sometimes lacks.
Makes sense. So introverts and extroverts might have different goals when they turn on the music.
Exactly. An introvert might be looking for introspection, while an extrovert wants something upbeat for a party.
Right. Different vibes for different tribes.
The author even talks about dreading this question at parties because they know their answer won't be met with understanding,
Ooh, yeah, I've been there.
right? Like they feel pressure to conform to those expected musical preferences.
I feel like that's a common experience for anyone whose taste deviates from the mainstream.
Totally. And the blog goes on to say that for introverts, engaging music is often complex and nuanced, something that offers new discoveries with each listen.
That definitely aligns with the openness trait we discussed.
Right. They might be seeking music that's intellectually stimulating, less conventional.
And they're not afraid to go deep.
Not at all.
Yeah.
The author even describes music as a living thought process, wrought in sound and silence.
Wow, that's beautiful.
I know, right? It really captures how personal and almost meditative music can be for some people.
It's an experience, not just background noise.
Exactly. Now, this is just one person's perspective, but it's a good reminder that there are many reasons why people connect with music.
Right.
It's not always about fitting in or following trends. Have you ever felt like your taste was misunderstood or judged?
Oh, definitely. Especially when I was younger. I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling, regardless of their personality type.
I think so too. It speaks to that human need to express ourselves and to find connection through shared interests.
Absolutely. We want our passions to be understood and respected.
For sure. And music is definitely one of those passions that can spark strong opinions and sometimes even lead to some friendly debates.
Yeah, but those debates can be fun too. They help us see things from different perspectives.
True. True. Okay, so we've talked about the big five. We've looked at specific genres. We've even dipped our toes into the world of introverts and extroverts.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. But we're just getting started. There's so much more to explore when it comes to music and who we are.
I'm ready for more. Let's dive deeper.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, so we've been digging into how music and personality connect. But it's pretty clear that music is more than just a reflection of who we are.
Right. It goes way deeper than that.
Yeah, it totally impacts our moods and how we deal with the world.
Totally. It's like intertwined with our emotions.
For sure. And we use it to express how we feel, to regulate our emotions, all sorts of things.
It's like a soundtrack to our lives.
It is. One of the sources we looked at was a 2024 systematic review.
Oh, wow. So they analyze a bunch of studies.
Exactly. All about music and mood regulation. And they found a strong connection between how people use music and their ability to manage those emotions.
Systematic reviews are great for getting the big picture. So this finding is pretty significant.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
It highlights how people use music for all sorts of things like boosting their mood,
Right.
chilling out, processing tough emotions, even improving focus.
Wow. It's like music is a multi-tool for our emotions.
Right. Like a personalized toolkit right at our fingertips.
Love that analogy.
And here's a fascinating detail that came up. There was this 2020 study that found people who are high in absorption.
Absorption.
Yeah, meaning they get super immersed in experiences.
Okay.
They're actually more drawn to music that evokes negative emotions.
Really? That
Yeah.
seems kind of counterintuitive. Why would someone seek out music that makes them feel down?
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
But the researchers think it's because these folks process their feelings really intensely, even the tough ones, and music gives them a safe space to do that.
Huh. So they're leaning into the complexity of their emotions through music, even the shadows.
Exactly. It challenges the idea that music is always about feeling good. Sometimes it's about feeling deeply, whatever that feeling might be.
That's a good point.
What about you? What kind of music do you turn to when you need a mood boost or when you're trying to process something difficult?
It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
But I definitely have some go-to artists and genres for different moods.
Me too. It's like we each have our own musical pharmacy.
I love that musical pharmacy. I'm going to steal that.
Still away.
Hmm.
But okay, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about how our background shapes our musical tastes.
Right, because it's not just about our personality.
It's not. It's about our environment, our early exposure, cultural influences, the whole shebang.
It all plays a part.
One of the sources, a blog post from Novacor, really emphasized this. The author pointed out how much our childhood environment influences us.
It's like what our parents listen to.
Exactly. The music in our communities, even what's on TV, it all shapes our early musical experiences.
It's like we develop a musical accent.
Ooh, I like that. A musical accent. And it's not just family, it's larger cultural norms, too.
Right, what's popular in one place might be totally unknown somewhere else.
Totally. And that impacts what we're exposed to early on.
It's fascinating how those cultural differences in taste develop.
It really is. What about you? Think about your own musical origin story. What were you exposed to early on? And how much do you think it still influences your taste today?
That's a good question. I'd say my parents' music definitely had a big influence, but I've also branched out a lot over the years.
That's awesome. It's all about keeping an open mind and exploring new sounds.
Absolutely. Okay, so now I'm ready for the grand finale. Let's get brainy.
Let's do it. Time to peek inside the brain and explore the neuroscience of musical enjoyment.
I've been waiting for this.
Me too. The research on music and the brain is just exploding these days.
It's such a cool field.
So basically, our sources explain that music activates multiple brain regions.
Like which ones?
The areas linked to emotion, reward, and memory.
Ah, that explains why music can trigger such strong feelings and memories.
Exactly. It's not just a sensory experience. It's a full-on emotional and cognitive one.
Right, it's hitting us on multiple levels.
And get this. The brain releases dopamine when we hear music we enjoy.
Dopamine. That feel-good chemical.
The one and only. It's like we get a reward for listening to music that lights up those neural circuits.
So it makes us want to hear it again and again.
Bingo. It's like a positive feedback loop.
That's so cool.
It explains why certain songs can totally transport us back to specific moments in time. Those neural pathways connecting music, memory, and emotion are super powerful.
It's amazing how much music can impact us.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's why musical preference is so personal. There's no right or wrong way to experience it.
Totally.
It's about how it moves you, how it connects with your brain and your unique memories.
It's about that individual connection.
Exactly. Now, here's a question that our sources didn't directly address, but it's something to think about.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Given that our brains are constantly changing and exposure shapes, our preferences could intentionally seeking out new musical styles actually change our personality over time.
Whoa, that's a big one.
I know, right? Like, can we rewire our brains through music?
That's a fascinating question. I'm not sure we have a definitive answer.
Me neither. But it's definitely something to ponder.
It is. It speaks to the power of music and the plasticity of our brains.
Totally. And it reminds us that our relationship with music isn't static.
Right. It's dynamic and ever-evolving, just like us.
Exactly. All right, we're back for the final part of your personalized deep dive. It's been a wild ride exploring the connection between music and personality.
It has. We've covered so much ground.
I know, right? But before we wrap things up, we want to give you some practical takeaways, some things you can actually do with all this knowledge.
Love that. Make it actionable.
Exactly. So, first things first, let's talk about expanding your musical horizons.
It's so easy to get stuck in a rut.
I know, I'm totally guilty of that.
Same here. We all do it. But one of the best ways to break free is to actively seek out music that's different from what you usually listen to.
That makes sense. But where do you even start?
Well, you can explore new genres, check out artists your friends recommend, even just browse playlists on streaming services.
So baby steps. No need to overhaul your entire music library overnight.
Nope. Just a little intentional exploration can make a big difference.
And you know what else has helped me discover new music?
What's that?
Paying attention to the music playing in the background. Like at a cafe or a store, or even in a TV show.
Oh yeah, totally. You can stumble upon some real gems that way.
I found some of my favorite bands that way. Just hearing a song and thinking, wait, what IS this?
Right, and then you gotta Shazam it immediately.
Exactly. Got to track it down. It's those serendipitous discoveries that can really expand your taste.
For sure. And don't underestimate the power of asking friends and family for recommendations.
Oh yeah, good point.
You never know what hidden treasures they might introduce you to.
I've been surprised so many times by what my friends listen to.
Me too. And sometimes those recommendations lead to amazing conversations about music.
Totally. It's a great way to connect with people.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about expanding your horizons. But what about getting more involved in the musical world beyond just listening?
Going to live shows can be a game changer.
Oh yeah, concerts and music festivals.
Nothing beats the energy of a live performance.
That's so true. You're experiencing the music in a whole new way, surrounded by other fans.
And you can really feel the music in your body.
It's visceral.
Yeah.
It stays with you long after the show is over.
And if you're feeling really adventurous,
Yeah.
you could try learning to play an instrument or taking singing lessons.
Even if you don't become a rock star,
Right.
the process of creating music is so rewarding.
It is. It's a whole different level of connection.
It's about actively participating in the music, not just consuming it.
Finding your own voice.
Love that. Okay, so we've expanded our horizons. We've explored new ways to engage with music. How do we make it a more integral part of our daily lives?
Playlists are your best friend.
I love a good playlist.
You can tailor them to different moods and activities. Working out, relaxing, focusing, cooking dinner.
It's like creating your own sonic environment.
Exactly. And another powerful way to use music is to incorporate it into your self-care routine.
Music as therapy.
Exactly. Listening to calming music can help reduce stress and anxiety, while upbeat music can boost your mood and energy levels.
It's like a personalized prescription.
It is. And it ties back to what we talked about with musical intelligence and emotional intelligence.
Right. Engaging with music makes us more aware of our feelings and how to express them.
And those skills help us in all areas of life.
Relationships work everything.
Yeah,
So much bigger than just music.
totally. Okay, so one last thing I wanted to touch on. How understanding musical preferences can help us connect with other people.
I love that I've definitely bonded with people over shared musical tastes.
It's such a powerful connector, and it starts with genuine curiosity and respect for what others enjoy.
Even if you don't personally get it.
Right. Instead of dismissing someone's favorite genre or artist, ask them why they love it.
Try to see through their eyes.
Exactly. You'll learn something about the music and the person.
And even if you don't end up loving the music, you gain a deeper understanding of the person.
Totally. Sharing music can also be a really meaningful way to connect.
I love making playlists for friends.
Me too. Or gifting concert tickets, or just jamming out together.
It's all about sharing that passion.
And music is a universal language.
It really is. It transcends cultural differences.
And it speaks to something deep within us all.
Beautifully said. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our deep dive into music and personality.
It's been a fun one.
We've explored the science, the psychology, the personal stories.
All the angles.
But the most important takeaway is that music is a powerful force.
It can enrich our lives in so many ways.
So keep exploring, keep listening, keep sharing your love of music with the world.
And never stop being curious.
Now, as you continue your musical journey, here's a final thought to ponder. We've talked about how our personalities and experiences shape our musical preferences.
Yeah.
But what about the other way around? Could intentionally listening to new styles actually change your personality over time?
That's a good one to think about.
It is. Something to chew on as you keep exploring. Thanks for joining us on this musical adventure.